Carrie Withers. I teach 6th grade and 7th grade English Language Arts, also 10th grade ESL Language Arts, and also Student Council and grade 11 CAS and grade 12 CAS. I think this is my 18th.
Yeah, Daniel Francis. I teach grade 6, 8, and 9.
Okay.
ICT, yeah, 20.
20 years. Okay. First obvious question is, do you write lesson plans?
It depends on your definition of lesson plans.
Okay.
If I were, they're more in Carrie speak.
Mm-hmm.
They're not formal documents, formal lesson plans usually.
Okay.
Nobody is. They're not for anybody else but for myself, I guess is the way to explain.
Process, but I do have a framework of a lesson plan. I started in the beginning of the week. I make a framework, which I follow all throughout.
Okay.
Now we have managed back so we can reflect on the lesson plan, what we are putting in each lesson.
Okay. So you follow on a specific
Yes,
format?
that's very important because each class has 3 sections. So all the sections should go together, should have the same elements of teaching material. That's why you need to have a plan.
Okay.
In my beginning school, my first years of teaching, I was asked, I'm still in there. Okay. We were, school-wide, they didn't really have a lesson planning system, and then I came on as a first-year teacher. Everybody else had been there for 100 years, but I was brand new. And so, and my principal finally understood that I was struggling to put my lessons together, and so she asked for reading lesson plans from me and then from everyone in the building, and everybody freaked out because they had never been asked to do that before. And so you have that initial panic of, oh my gosh, and then there's that anger of, well, how dare they ask me for these things? But it can be quite good because it is sort of that reset button to remind us, okay, let's get back to it. What is it that we're really trying to do here? I have this lesson that's really fun and I really like it, but what's the point? Where's the so what why I'm doing this lesson? So I think that those formats can be helpful if they're well set up and well supported. They can be cumbersome if they're not necessary. So I think that's like we're expected to differentiate for our students. I think that that those lesson plan requirements should be differentiated for the teachers because some people need more structure and some people do not. But they should.
First thing is my objective. The first will be is always the objective. What is the objective of that particular lesson?
And basically, when I'm doing my lesson plans, I'm thinking ahead. Not only like what do I need to do tomorrow, but I'm thinking ahead of what is my final goal. What is my ultimate plan for them? What is it that I want them to achieve? What's the point? So when we're planning lessons, we have to make sure that we're keeping that so what, why am I doing this in mind at all times. If that
Fundamental first thing I do is I review the previous lesson.
Okay.
I take a few minutes to review the previous lesson. Basically asking questions from students. I don't allow them to raise hands. I just pick up a random student and ask them, okay, what we did last time, how. Ask few questions on that. Once the review is done, then I can understand. I gauge how much they have understood. If I feel that they need some more of pushing or some more revision, I take few more minutes to review that lesson again.
And so my lesson plans tend to be more listy in that, keeping that final goal in mind. Here are the steps that I need to go through to get them to that final goal. The challenge is the timeline doesn't always work the way we want because sometimes they need more time on certain things than we expected, or sometimes things go faster, but not usually. Usually it takes more time than you originally plan. Or you it's sort of like remodeling your kitchen. You pull back some boards and you see, oh my gosh, this is all a mess. They need, this part needs to be fixed up too.
Yeah.
So so that's why I tend to write my lesson plans in more of a list format, more in pencil, because you have to be flexible to what the students need.
Okay.
But it depends on the understanding of the class.
Okay.
As I told you that all the three sections, say in grade 6, two are very good, one is quite weak.
Okay.
So I have to modify for the weak section a little bit all the time.
Okay. I do reflect on what I do, but usually it's more of an adjustment for what's next.
Okay.
In other words, if this was the task I planned to do on Monday and we didn't get that far, or we didn't get, or we need some clarification on this, or the kids came up with another question that I hadn't addressed, then I have to adjust my Tuesday. So that's why, again, that list, rather than a calendar, the list is more like, oh, we're putting in a step 1.5, instead of moving on to 2 or 3, and it's not bound by date. And I have the flexibility to be able to do that here because we're not so, we don't have like in the U.S. all the Common Core standard tests and the Smarter Balance tests. In the district I worked in the States, there were, it was quite a large district and everyone had different principals. And there was one principal that was so strict about, the stories were legendary, right? So strict about lesson plans that he wanted to be able to know, if I walk into your door at 9:52, I want to be able to see what you're going to say. He was expecting 3 to 5 page documents on every lesson plan for every single day. Well, to me, that just shows a lack of trust in your teachers to be able to do what you hire them to do. I really have to be more organic in responding to what the kids need. So I find that I'm really not successful when I'm handed a list or handed a formal lesson plan, say, here, teach this.
Repeat.
It's just not like, it feels very funny to me. Like I hate it. Like I'm actively unhappy with having to do that. It just doesn't, it feels wrong. It feels like I'm shortchanging the kids because I'm not. So that has not been a skill I have developed, is using those previously made lesson plans by others. So as a department, we tend to, we get together and we plan things together, but it's more voluntary. Fortunately, the personalities really mesh well, and everybody brings good ideas to the table, and so it's a very positive collaboration experience, but that's not always the case. I've been in situations where that can be quite difficult because the personalities don't click. I can tell you that for us in grade 7, we're all working on that writing process, but our approaches are very different. So when we're collaborating, it's more like, here's our final destination. So we all decided, okay, these are the specific skills we're going to hit. Now, how we hit them is different because we're all very different kinds of teachers, and we have different students. We have different students, and so what works in one classroom isn't going to work in the other classroom. So the method might be different. Definitely use it. I'm definitely using those things to hone my instruction. Same thing with the 7th graders. I had them turn in this essay to me, and my next intention is to show them excerpts from the essays that were submitted and show them and say, okay, what's good about this and what still needs work.
There are three kinds of students. One component is based on each one of them should understand. Slightly better students understand slightly difficult component, and few students I give them a challenge that they can go ahead and give them a slightly difficult task than rest of the class. And